Welcome to This Explainer. You know, if you've ever watched two toddlers engage in high-stakes negotiations over a single blue crayon and thought, man, there has to be a better way to teach them about community, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to take those big foundational social studies and civic standards and translate them into actionable, truly engaging classroom strategies made specifically for early childhood educators. If you've ever wondered how to teach massive concepts like citizenship or government to young learners without it going completely over their heads, this is exactly where you need to be. Let's start things off with some pretty profound wisdom. A classroom is the child's micro-society. When they learn that their actions can positively impact the people around them, they learn the true nature of citizenship. The stakes of what we're building together here are just wonderfully high. Every single day, as kids interact in your space, they are literally learning the rules of engagement for the rest of their lives. They aren't just passing time. They're learning what it means to belong, how to safely advocate for their needs, and how to genuinely care for the people around them. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by defining early civics, move on to the expanding circle of community, explore community learning centers, discuss intentional field trips, and wrap up with active civic service. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Defining Early Civics. Now, it's absolutely crucial we get this right straight out of the gate. Civics at this age, it is not about memorizing laws or trying to explain complex political structures. We're completely ditching rote memorization here. Instead, early civics is really about the beautiful, essential work of learning how to share a space, how to follow rules, and how to care for one another. It's about laying down those foundational bricks of social competence so that later on, when they do learn about formal government, they already fundamentally grasp the why behind it all. So what does this actually look like? Well, these core concepts are learned deeply through your everyday routines. Think about the moment you guide children to resolve a disagreement fairly, or when you have the class vote on which storybook to read before nap time. Think about that for a second. Even if a child's favorite book doesn't win, they learn that the process was fair. Through those tiny, everyday interactions, you're teaching them that everyone's voice matters. You're teaching cooperation and the very real beginnings of democratic decision-making in a way they can actually touch and feel. Moving right along to Section 2, the expanding circle. A child's understanding of community develops kind of like a ripple in a pond. It expands outward. In infancy, a child's identity is anchored entirely inward. They're naturally self-centered, essentially asking, who am I in my family, and are my immediate needs met? But as they grow, a good community study pushes that identity outward. It prompts them to ask, who am I in my neighborhood? How do we help each other out? They shift from total dependence to this really beautiful understanding of codependence and trust within a much wider circle. And you can actually see this evolution of belonging across the early years. For infants, civic growth is just trusting a new caregiver in the hallway. But by the time they're toddlers, they're spotting landmarks like the library door and mimicking helpers, pretending to sweep up or drive a fire truck. And then finally, your 4-year-old preschoolers are actively identifying job roles and taking care of shared spaces because they finally recognize their own crucial role in that ecosystem. It's an amazing, observable trajectory. For toddlers, watching this active mimicry is truly incredible. When they pick up a toy broom to sweep a corner or carefully pretend to deliver mail to a friend, they aren't just playing. They're actively processing the community roles they've seen out in the real world. They are trying on the responsibilities of citizenship in a totally safe, low-stakes environment, just figuring out how the gears of their little society actually turn. Okay, let's dive into Section 3, Building Community Learning Centers. We've all seen the standard approach to dramatic play, right? Just putting out a box of generic, sparkly costumes and crossing our fingers. But if we want to truly elevate our civics instruction, we've got to rethink that entirely. You have to design your learning environments around functional community responsibilities. We want to move from just playing dress up to actually giving them the tools of a community helper, shifting the focus from what these helpers look like to the absolutely vital work that they do. Imagine creating a rotating community hub in your room. One week, maybe it's a post office loaded with mail, sorting slots, envelopes, and stamps. The next week, boom, it transforms into an environmental sanitation center with child-sized brooms and recycling bins. The real magic here is the cross-disciplinary benefit. Not only are they practicing cooperative role play, but they're sneaking in fine motor skills, practicing writing symbols, and developing deep sorting logic, all while being fantastic citizens. There's this really powerful synergy between letting diverse peers joyfully explore the outside world together and then bringing them back into a structured dramatic play area. You absolutely need both. The structured center gives them the exact tools and boundaries they need to process and act out the cooperative behaviors they just observed out in the wild. It basically acts as a laboratory for them to practice the empathy and teamwork they're going to need in the broader world. Which brings us to Section 4, intentional field trips. Now, taking kids on an intentional trip, even if it's literally just a 10-minute walk across campus to the library or a local fire station, requires deliberate scaffolding. If we just show up without a game plan, the learning is entirely passive. Seriously, without structure, they might just remember the fun bus ride and nothing else. We need a strategic blueprint to turn an everyday outing into a highly active lesson in community engagement. So here is a highly effective 3-step blueprint for you. Step 1, scaffold the storytelling before you even leave the room. Create visual charts of what they already know and draft some questions they come up with themselves. Step 2, keep them actively engaged during the visit. Hand them mini clipboards for a scavenger hunt. Watch their faces completely light up when they finally spot the yellow fire hose or the librarian's date stamp. And Step 3, lock in that learning when you get back by building a massive floor map with blocks, physically tracing the route you just took together. And finally, Section 5, active civic service. As we do all this important work, we have a critical responsibility to audit our classroom resources. When we teach young children about their community, our books, our posters, our play materials, they all need to shatter old stereotypes. We need to intentionally showcase female mechanics, male nurses, and feature wonderfully diverse backgrounds across all local professions. We have to guarantee that every single child in your room can look around and clearly see a place for themselves in the community. Here's a brilliant way to put all that growing empathy into action: the Classroom Service Project. Instead of having parents drop donations off in a bin at the front office, bring that collection box right inside your classroom. Let the preschoolers be the official sorters. They can count and graph the items by color or size, which, by the way, sneaks in some incredible early math skills before attaching warm, hand-drawn care cards directly to the donations. It perfectly bridges the gap between a theoretical good deed and a tangible act of love. This approach is a total game changer. It fundamentally shifts the entire learning experience from passively recognizing a police car or a mail truck to actually stepping into the shoes of a citizen. And most importantly, it reinforces the single biggest social studies target of all. Children aren't just future citizens waiting in the wings. They are valuable, highly capable, and contributing members of a larger societal network right now. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to carry into your classroom tomorrow. Ask yourself, how will the intentional design of your room shape the empathetic citizens of tomorrow? The way you handle a dispute over a toy, the way you set up your play centers, the way you guide a simple neighborhood walk, it all matters immensely. You are literally building the foundation of our society, one day, one routine, and one shared block at a time. Thanks so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see the vibrant micro-society you build.